love wrestling. This is a fun match. This is definitely a fun match. And there's a heartbeat going off now across the arena. What? Oh, no, I don't like... What is happening here? That is not as cool as it probably looks in the arena. So the demon is up now. And now there's red lights in the arena. So no one can see. Very dark red lights in the arena. There's fog around the arena. Balor just got up for no reason. He started flopping on the floor, and then he just got up. And his music is playing. Oh, this is... Oh, I don't like this. Like, it definitely looks cooler in person than it does on pay-per-view, I'll say that. Oh, this is not good. Why is this music playing? Who approved this backstage? Balor with his music playing, red lights and fog everywhere. Can't see a damn thing. Roman Reigns is flat in the middle of the ring. Balor up on the top rope. And the ropes just broke? The ropes just broke. What just happened? The rope broke while Balor was up on the top. That made no sense. Oh, and now he's hurt. Now his knee is hurt. And he's gonna be speared. Yep. Right on cue. 1, 2, 3. What was that? Oh my, what was that? What was that? Yeah, what the fuck? That Pat McAfee, my sentiments is exactly what the hell was that?
A malfunction of the top rope, I guess. Something breaks. It's Extreme Rules. Anything can happen. It did. Roman Reigns capitalizes. And the bloodline remains dripped in gold somehow, some way. What?
Wow. That was very, very underwhelming. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all genders, Real Take Sports proudly brings to you its future 5-time podcast champions of the world, the Barman Trevor Sutton, El Jefe Omar Q, Real Take Wrestle Talk. I'll have some more energy in that one down the line, but I feel like I'm onto something with that one.
I feel like I'm onto something, but I feel like you kind of teetered out at the end there.
I petered out. I was thinking. The problem is I was thinking about what the hell to say. I didn't know what to say in the beginning, but I think I'm on something there. It's inclusive. I like that. It's it's a wrestling thing. It's a pop, and I'm hyping our podcast up to our wonderful viewers on YouTube, our wonderful listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever they're listening to this today. Be sure to hit that like button, guys. Help out the algorithm. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, head on over to www.youtube.com/Real Take Sports if you're listening on audio to the podcast. Trevor, what a weekend in pro wrestling it was.
Yes.
because
Yes.
we had Extreme Rules. We had some news come out about a 5-star rating for a match that did not take place in WWE or New Japan for that matter. Also, some news from the upcoming WWE draft. And Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful.com was very busy, dropped some bombshell stories about the WWE Fox relationship, as well as the original plans for Adam Cole, baby, for his main roster run before he ended up leaving and signing with AEW. But how are you doing, Trevor? What do you like in pro wrestling? Let's start with the positives. What do you like in pro wrestling right now that's not AEW?
Oh man, like I feel like every weekend now I check my feeds and I see Matt Cardona doing something absolutely ridiculous or awesome, and I absolutely love it. Like I'm a huge fan of Matt Cardona. I loved his run in WWE, even though it sucked. But I like him. I just like the character. You know, Long Island IC. I loved it. Zack Ryder was awesome. And he's doing a lot with Game Changer Wrestling right now. He's doing a lot with Impact too. He's not doing it and it I love evil Matt Cardona. I love heel Matt Cardona. It's the funniest. It's some of the best TV possible right now. I'm enjoying that.
Absolutely. I love that. I love this. He had a tweet where he reacted to John Moxley like cashing in whatever or taking the GCW title, and he was just trolling everybody. He's amazing. He's amazing. That's a guy who knows what he wants to do and knows how to get a reaction out of people and stay relevant. And in wrestling, in any medium where you have to build a brand, that's exactly what you got to do. So big ups to my boy Matt Cardona. Taz, oh my god, big ups to Taz too, man. cutting promos on people that weren't even saying shit to him. You remember that? We're late on this one. We'll get to the show. I promise you, we'll get to the show. But we're late on this one. You remember when Taz cut a promo on CM Punk, claiming that CM Punk mentioned Hobbs and Ricky Starks, even though CM Punk didn't even mention like anything about.
Like he had legit confusion. He was like, "What are you talking about? Like, who did this?"
Taz, you're not that old, man. Come on. ECW wasn't that long ago. Come on now. Although I will say this, SP3 from the True Heel Heat podcast, I was in his comment section and he was putting over Hook on his show, and I was in the comment section and I was like, man, you know, I love Hook, man. Shout out to all the hookers out there. Shout out to all the hookers. Anyway, let's get started with the show. That's an amazing transition to the show.
We're already going downhill.
That wouldn't have it any other way, my friend. Anyway, let's talk about Extreme Rules. What a night it was of wrestling, and what a confusing ending it was to Extreme Rules. We'll talk about the ending in just a second, but so Extreme Rules, Liv Morgan defeated Carmella, New Day, and Big E. So here's the thing. New Day had a match, right, that was announced right in the middle of the pre-show. So there was no build to your WWE champion and Big E being built up to the show. There was no build at all. He just had a match out of nowhere. So that was interesting. So New Day went over Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. The Usos successfully defended their WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits in a match where I thought the Street Profits looked really good, a lot better than they have on TV recently. Montez Ford, man, that kid's gonna be a kid. He's like a few years older than me. That guy's gonna be a star one day. I can't wait for that mixed tag team match they end up doing with him and Bianca, and then Naomi and I think
Usos?
And one of the Usos. Whichever one's the correct one. I don't think it's. I think it's Jimmy. I don't think it's main event Jay. I don't know.
No, I think it's Jimmy.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Anyway, main event Jey Uso, man. I love that gimmick. He's main event Jey Uso. Anyway, Charlotte Flair also defeated Alexa Bliss and afterwards destroyed Lily the doll. And afterwards, Alexa threw a temper tantrum. She was very upset about it. She was crying. And then Kevin Dunn, right on cue, did a close-up of Alexa swallowing an Alka-Seltzer. It makes it look like she was foaming from the mouth, but you could see the pill. It was not great. For a company that loves camera cuts, you're telling me they couldn't cut away from that once?
Dude, I saw it like 3 times, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Here's what I'll say. The wrestling in the first half, actually, the wrestling overall in this pay-per-view was great. The in-ring work was amazing, and especially the first 3 matches. I really loved the first 3 matches. Even Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss, I thought they worked. They got the crowd into it. They worked. They got me into it. Yeah.
They're good workers. It's just the gimmicks that they've been portraying so far. I'm not great. I'm not big on.
Yeah. Damian Priest successfully defended his WWE United States Championship against Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. Fun match here. There were a lot of false finishes where you genuinely thought, there was one point where I thought Jeff Hardy actually had it won. They worked me.
Me too.
Some slipping in this match, though. A few botches happens. But what did you think about this and them keeping Priest strong?
I thought the match was good. Like, overall, I mean, I thought it was a strong enough match to be like, botches happen. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But they kept pretty strong. They kept the match up. Good job on both of them. All 3 of them, I should say.
Yeah, good job on all 3 of them. Sheamus, man, solid worker. Never has a bad match. I swear.
Love Sheamus.
Love Shamo. Fella. All right, and in our penultimate match, Becky Lynch successfully defended successfully defended is a loose term. So Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship ended in a no contest after disqualification occurred. Becky Lynch obviously retained, but the big news out of this was the return of the legit boss, Sasha Banks. So Sasha Banks came in just out of nowhere, attacked Bianca Belair, and here's the thing. I would not have minded this, right?
Right.
If we had not just seen a 16-minute match that was building up to an ending, all for that to just have, disqualification. See it at Saudi Mania 24 or whatever it's gonna be. Like, that's the problem I have with this company. I feel like they think they're protecting, Bianca and Sasha, or Bianca and Becky, but the problem is, it's just making it mean nothing. Nothing matters, and it's just not accomplishing anything. Put someone over. It's okay. Right. It's okay to put someone over clean when they're 2 of the best right now. There's a lot of instances of 50-50 bookings that make sense.
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense, like you said. And it was a pretty good match too. It wasn't like it was like a faulty match or anything like that. It was actually a pretty good match. But you're like, I mean, it's 60 minutes long. Like, okay, why won't it be a finish? I mean, like you said, if this happened like earlier on, I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm actually okay with the way it happened. Like, I mean, it makes Bianca not look weak, and whatever. She didn't get the pin, but still, like, you could have did it earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Trevor, you talked about a finish. Oh, you want a finish, pal? I'll give you a finish. I'll give you a finish. The finish of this pay-per-view was one very, very controversial thing. So Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor ended in some controversy amongst fans, especially. So this was a great match. The first, I want to say, 15 or so minutes of this match were amazing because we saw these two like really pelt each other with very stiff, not only chair shots but also shots with the cane. I wasn't a big fan of Finn Balor pulling out the big old like 5 canes taped up together. That's what it was. But I thought it was great. They fought into the crowd. They played to the crowd. Roman wore a mask out in the audience. A lot of people said that was to get heat, and I think it was just something that was one to get. I mean, I think it was indirectly to get heat because he is immunocompromised. He's in remission, so that's a reason for him probably to wear a mask. Anyway, Usos get involved very late. That's one thing I noticed, and then in the ending we see Balor take out both the Usos, and then finally Roman spears Finn through the barricade. Everyone's down, and then Trevor, we hear a heartbeat.
Yes,
we hear a heartbeat around the arena. The lights turn red, and then we see Finn Balor, the demon, start flopping. And apparently that was supposed to be his heartbeat. It was not timed as much, but that he starts flopping, right? And then out of nowhere, the lights are red. There's fog coming up, and then his music plays. He gets up, the biggest Hulk up of all time. Finn Balor, the demon, gets up, puts Roman Reigns through a table, looking like the biggest comeback. If you're anyone who's played WWE 2K I've ever seen, it was some WWE 2K shit. That's what it felt like to me. So Balor gets up. Balor is tearing through Reigns. He sets him up for the coup de grace, and then we see one of the most underwhelming things ever happen. The ropes break. Balor goes down. He starts selling his knee. The lights turn on. The fog goes away. Roman hits a spear. I literally called it on cue as it was happening. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Roman retains. Trevor, who booked this shit?
Somebody that owes somebody money, apparently. This dude, what the fuck? I mean, that's all I can say. Like, I swear, it's an old adage people say. Like, you give a good bucket of milk and you kick it over. And I swear that's what fucking WWE does. They give good matches, great matches. Then, you know what? We haven't fucked up enough today. Let's just kick that shit over. And that's exactly what they do. Like, what was that? And I don't care. I've heard people in the comments saying, "Oh," in different comment sections say, "Oh, you don't understand character build up." Blah 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 blah. It's for cinematic, and the way they did it
character
was
build up. This came out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Like, literally, they debuted the demon a week before, and then said, "Oh, the demon's gonna be wrestling."
Exactly. And since when has the demon died in the ring and then it was resurrected? That's something new. But again, if you do something like that, in my book, he should be the champion. But if you're not going to do this big, if you're going to do this big spectacle and pretty much build the Fiend up, the demon up, and make him like Hulk, pretty much like you use Hulk out, he should win the fucking belt, right? No, not today.
We gotta swerve you one more time, man. We gotta swerve you one more time.
Like, oh my God. People who enjoyed this and thought this was brilliant, you need to seek love. Because I don't think you're loved enough. That's what I think it is.
Seek love, please. But don't seek it from us, because you won't get any from us. No. This was great match. I loved it. This was going to be like a 4-star match. Like, I really enjoyed the match. And then the ending just... It was just terrible. There were a lot of people though who, and this is the only thing that can save this ending is if they call back to Backlash 2006 when God made his WWE debut in the ring. That's the only thing. Because Trevor, who better to take out a demon than God? So if the story is that God is the one who took out Finn Balor and made this rope miraculously break after, mind you had Damian Priest, Sheamus, all of these big guys, Big E do spots on top of the rope and nothing happened. But Finn Balor, like a 180-pound guy, it just breaks anyway. But if God is the reason that these rope breaks and God wanted to take out the demon, and we saw afterwards Roman Reigns pointing up to the heavens above and Paul Heyman looking up to the heavens above, man, I'm telling you, that would save this. That would save this.
It would save it. I mean, it'd be sad that it saved it, but it would save it.
It would not save it, actually. There's not much you can do to save this. That was just... It was dumb. You know what? Someone equated this, right? Someone was like, this kind of reminded me of AEW Revolution when at the ending of AEW Revolution, how flat that was.
Oh yeah.
And I'll say this. It was not as disappointing in my opinion as the ending of AEW Revolution.
No,
because
but it wasn't as disappointing. No.
Yeah, it wasn't as disappointing. But what I will say, Trevor, is that It was pretty bad, and the only thing I can say is that at least AEW's botch, at least their big botch, wasn't on purpose. This
No,
was
it wasn't.
planned. This was the plan. The AEW, they just didn't test it out. That was still a problem, but this was their plan.
That's
Like,
still funny. Just thinking about it, it's still funny.
is it funny though? I mean,
No,
actually, it's
I'm
hilarious.
talking
No,
about
no, I'm joking. This is fucking hilarious. It's it's great. But yeah. Overall, Trevor. Overall thoughts of Extreme Rules.
B minus.
It was a solid A minus pay per view. Or sorry, I'll say B plus A minus pay per view
Yeah,
up
B minus
until
for me.
the last like few minutes. That C plus, Vince. You
Yeah,
get a
okay.
C plus.
Yeah, I can
C
see that.
plus.
I can see that. Combined
God.
with the Sasha Banks spot too.
Yeah. No, I just they could have
And the
waited.
thing was,
It doesn't
wasn't
make
that
sense.
bad. It wasn't that bad. It just didn't make sense. Like you said, it just didn't make sense.
Makes no damn sense. Why is Sasha Banks returning to attack Bianca Belair? She should be going after Becky Lynch, the person who took her spot at SummerSlam for the title.
Exactly.
Oh my god. I'm thinking too logically. Think about who we're dealing with here, Trevor. Think about the company we're dealing with.
We're not dealing with smart people.
We're dealing with something else. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Got daily videos. Also, be sure to head on over to patreon.com/Real Take Sports to get some exclusive content. I'm dropping some exclusive content there starting this week that's not going to be available on the YouTube channel for months from now. So check out those videos, patreon.com/Real Take Sports. Join the $5 a month or above tier in order to get that. Before we move on officially to our next topic, let's read out some of these chats because chat's been busy. Welcome everyone. Please sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We got some questions, some statements, a lot of stuff here to cover, Trevor. Let's get to it.
Look,
Cincy says, what do y'all think of my new profile picture? And it is Pepe the Frog. I'm assuming dressed as a Cincinnati Bengals player. Love it, Cincy. Cincy says, I'm an ROH type guy. So am I. I like ROH. Ryan Woodridge asks, hi, bro. What's your thoughts on Monday Night Raw last night with Keith Bearcat Lee? Keith Bearcat Lee, I don't hate the Bearcat thing because the Bearcat thing is a call up to Bearcat Wright, who was an amazing performer, transcendent performer, especially in the African American community. My only thing I'll say about that is I wish his name was Bearcat Keith Lee instead of Keith Bearcat Lee.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a little too much. Anyway, Sophia NYC says Wyndham's new name in AEW is Wyndham Wyatt. Ooh, I like that. I like it. Wyndham Wyatt. Hell yeah. The new Wyatt family.
Right.
Love that. They got to have the Demons come back in WWE take 2K22. Absolutely. Sophia says, I think Leo Rush will be signed by AEW. I think he already has an agreement to an extent with AEW.
Yeah, he retired though, didn't he?
No, he's coming back.
Okay.
Sophia also says, everyone thinks Wyndham is WWE bound because of CW wrestling. Okay. Ryan Woodridge asks, hi, bro, will Goldberg have his son team up... Will Goldberg have his son team up with his dad against Bobby Lashley and his manager? No, considering the fact that his son is like 16. By the way, still don't know how that kid is 16. He's way jacked than I will ever be.
Dude, exactly.
But yeah, he's 16. Give it a year or two. Bray Wyatt will never come back, says Sophia. She sounds very adamant about this. Wyndham Wyatt is signed by AEW. I don't know if he's signed yet. We'll talk about Wyatt in a little bit on this show. We will talk about Wyatt. She also says Extreme Rules is solid 1 point. Why Liv Morgan isn't getting pushed yet? I don't know. They built up the entire summer. It was the summer of Morgan. Her being the whole story leading up to Money in the Bank should have had her wedding, and then they didn't, and then they just didn't do anything with her. I don't know. I wish they would. I like Liv Morgan. And finally, Ryan Woodridge asks, hi, bro, what are your thoughts on Bliss taking time off from WWE? I love Alexa Bliss.
No.
and I hope she takes time off and she comes back as Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Absolutely. Anyway, so guys, thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Help out the algorithm. Help more people see this podcast. And if you ever want to listen to it on Spotify or wherever you want to listen to it, be sure to head on over. We'll take Wrestle Talk over there. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the WWE draft. So, Trevor, the WWE draft. And by the way, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. Remember when I said I had something to talk to you about?
Oh, yeah.
So the WWE draft kicks off this week on Friday Night SmackDown live from Baltimore, Maryland. Right there, baby. And that's going to be the first night of the draft, and the following Monday we'll have another night of the draft on Raw. So there's a lot of big names rumored to potentially move. I think WWE's at a point where they kind of could use a shakeup. We've seen rematches after rematches after rematches on Raw, and it's getting very redundant. Raw especially needs some more depth, I think, than SmackDown does at this point. But Trevor, who you think are some big names that could potentially change brands this week, and who should?
I think Edge could be one. I think
Really?
Edge could come over to Raw. But I also believe if Edge comes, he needs more competition because I don't think there's a whole lot of competition on Raw for him. And I also believe if Edge goes to Raw, I believe the Raw tag team champions go to SmackDown. I think everyone is sick of Randy Orton and Edge at this point. Actually, believe it or not, I actually could see a Edge versus the original Bro. That would be a good match, I think. I think that would be
good.
A very good match. I could also see. I could see who else. SmackDown has a lot of talent that could possibly switch over to Raw. The Street Profits could switch over to Raw.
Yeah. I was gonna say the Street Profits. I think there's rumors that they want to break them up. After watching Extreme Rules, I'm like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Put
they
them
work
on
so
Raw
well together. No.
and let them compete for the tag team titles against Riddle and Orton. Those would be some amazing matches.
Oh yeah, I think so. Like you said before, Montez, Jordan, those kids can wrestle.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I could feel a little younger than me, but those guys can wrestle definitely.
One name I'll say, and it's interesting considering what he just did on Raw this past week. One name I'll say that I could see actually switching from Raw to SmackDown and makes a lot of sense is Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre, he's been on Raw for a while. He was a champion there throughout the pandemic. I think his kind of path on Raw has played its course, and he for me is a guy who could change brands. It would be a little bit of a shock. I think it would be fresh, and him versus Roman Reigns.
I was going to say, can you imagine those matchups? Because those matchups him would be amazing.
You want a good face challenger for Roman Reigns who actually comes across as a threat, who comes across as someone legitimately who could beat him. There's not a lot of people better in WWE other than Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre, he would provide some fresh matchups for SmackDown. Hopefully they book it to actually have fresh matchups and instead of just doing rematch after 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 rematch. It's the same thing every fucking week. Every fucking week. But no.
Another one I wouldn't mind seeing is Sami Zayn. I wouldn't mind seeing Sami on Raw.
Is Sami Zayn on SmackDown?
He was. I don't know if he still is.
The more you know. He was on SmackDown. Because I remember he brought out. Remember when he brought out Trae Young? What in Madison Square Garden? What a heel! What a heel!
Trae Young, and also he brought out. He was out there with Logan Paul at one point too, right? Or was it
yes. His best friend Logan Paul. When that was the first incarnation of Dancing Sammy.
Oh yeah.
I love Dancing Sammy, man.
Dancing Sammy.
Sami Zayn, man. A winner is you. He deserves everything, and he also deserves to be all elite when this is all over. Please go to AEW. Please. That's like there's a lot. I know we're really beating the dead horse in the ground as far as people we want to see go to AEW. Actually, this is a good exercise since we're talking about the WWE draft. Let's talk about the draft. Okay, name one person in AEW that you would like to see in WWE, and vice versa. Name one person in WWE you'd like to see in AEW.
Huh. That's a
Yes.
tough one. That's a tough one. You know what? I'll only say this because I think his mic work needs a little work, and I think he'll get more time mic wise in like SmackDown or Raw. The FTW champion.
Oh, Ricky Stark. Yo, actually, Ricky Starks to WWE. That would be interesting. Vince would like Ricky Starks, I think.
Yeah, I think Vince would like Ricky. I think honestly he might try to make Ricky a little bigger, honestly, but
Or he might try to shave his head and change his name
to The Rock too. But no, I think Ricky on WWE would make a lot of sense, honestly.
Someone literally just said in the chat, Bliss to AEW is like my number one draft pick. Number one draft pick.
That wasn't
Alexa
who I'm
Bliss.
gonna pick, but it that makes perfect sense. I was actually gonna say.
And the thing is, Cody Rhodes is on record saying like if he could pick one person from WWE and just plant them in AEW, out of everyone, it would be Alexa Bliss, because not only would that really solidify the women's division.
Absolutely.
She's also just so good. She is.
Yes, she's amazing.
I truly think WWE know that she's really good and know that how great she is, or know that she is great, but I don't think they know exactly how great she is. She is.
I don't think they know what to do with her. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think they know what to do with her at all. Like, and I feel the same way for Rhea Ripley. I don't think they know what to do with Rhea Ripley at all.
Absolutely. Like, could you imagine those matches that Alexa Bliss though could have in AEW? Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho, Thunder Rosa versus Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss and Thunder Rosa would be amazing.
That's
absolutely amazing.
That's selling out buildings, baby. You know it. But yeah, WWE draft coming up. Anything else on the draft? I got a question for you. Are you excited for the draft?
I'm curious for the draft. I won't necessarily
curious.
I won't necessarily say excited. And that doesn't mean that I'm not excited, but I am very curious. I want to see, like you mentioned earlier, if this actually helps the brand. You know what I mean? If this actually spices things up and changes it in a positive way. Here's
what I'll say. Raw definitely needs it. Raw 100% needs this way more than SmackDown.
They need a complete overhaul.
Well, Raw also needs to stop writing shitty storylines. Anyway, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going, guys. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. Help out the algorithm. Help more people see this video. Like us. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review as well. Help us out there. We'll get to questions right after this next topic that we're talking about, because Trevor, Seth freaking Rollins, the Drip God, was on Broken Skull Sessions. So Seth Rollins was on Broken Skull Sessions, and he was talking about how after that 2019 Hell in a Cell match with Bray Wyatt, we all know the one where the lights were turned red. They were basically off. You couldn't see anything. And then we had that really weird ending where there was a disqualification in the Hell in a Cell match. So Rollins was on Broken Skull Sessions, and he said the following, quote, "My vision for the match was going to be a lot different than what we had to go out there and do. We went out there and did what we were told to do to the best of our ability. Obviously, as it was ongoing, I felt you watch it back, it's booze piled up on booze, and at the end of it, the reaction was the audience didn't get the result they wanted. That's really tough to pull up. That's a really tough pill to swallow." He also goes on to say that things happen for a reason. They happen the way they're supposed to happen. It was what it was. But here we are. Where we are now doesn't exist without that match. I'm putting a positive spin on it. And then he goes on to say this. This is the most shocking thing, or what some people are shocked by. I'm not really shocked by it. "I came through the curtain and I was ready to strangle Vince McMahon." He also goes on to say that apparently TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd had to hold him back because he was just staring a hole through Vince. He was pissed when he came back through the curtain. So again, I think this is kind of showing us different side of things, because you don't really hear people in WWE kind of criticize recent storyline debacles like this one was to this extent. So, what do you think about Seth Rollins coming out and criticizing this match that happened fairly recently and that we all know was terrible?
Good on him though. I mean, like, because you would think he wouldn't really talk about it, but good on him to be able to be honest about it, and and just come out and talk about something that could have ruined his career. This was bad. This was pretty fucking bad. I mean, like, this is quite possibly one of the worst matches I've seen in a long time, and like, I can understand his frustration. Like, it's like anything. If you have a vision for it, and it's pretty much like thrown aside, and you're like, and your vision is like replaced for this bargain basement vision, like, you're like, this match could have been so much better. It could have been something more, and then you turn my vision into this. Like, you took filet mignon and made fucking hot dogs and beans out of it.
You took filet mignon and you put out the free menu at Dewdrop on Mondays. That's what they did. That's what they did.
And you took a giant shit on the plate and said, "Hey, here's a go." Like, but yeah, I can completely understand his frustrations. To be honest with you, I'm not really shocked by it. Through the years, you've heard so many stories about some of the wrestlers almost whooping Vince's ass. I'm used to it at this point.
Look, I mean, Seth Rollins was not the only person who wanted to strangle Vince. I think there were a lot of fans who probably would say the same thing after that. I mean, he was right to be frustrated and angry with Vince McMahon because at the end of the day, he's the person who signs off on these things. And you kind of knew if that was what the finish was going in, you kind of knew that's how it was going to be bad. And apparently Vince was backstage laughing afterwards because he was just, and it was like one of those things where he was like, haha, well, it happens, pal. And he was laughing about it. So if I'm Seth Rollins, I'm coming through the curtain, I see that, I'm of course I'm going to be pissed especially after I just got booed out of the building in the main event of a Hell in a Cell match. So knowing that at that point, dude, his any chance of him having a face run at that point was just shot. He had to be healed. He had to be healed, and it was a blessing in disguise in a certain way, but it shouldn't have happened to begin with. We don't need bad stuff in wrestling. It doesn't need to happen. But I'll say this: what is shocking to me is the fact that Seth Rollins is one of the most like WWE friendly, like company friendly guys that WWE has, and he's taken shots at other companies. He's known to not criticize WWE very outwardly, and he said that he has a few years left on his contract. So this isn't one of those things where Seth Rollins is leaving WWE. That's not what's happening here. It's one of those things he's just talking to Austin, venting his frustrations a little bit, telling the truth. And it was surprising, though, to hear him be that candid, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, that's one thing he's always been, is honest. He's always been honest. Even in his days in ROH, he's always been honest.
Oh, yeah, he's always been honest, especially when he's telling Will Ospreay, I have more money in my bank account than you'll ever have. Like that, like doing dirtbag stuff like that. Yeah. He's really honest about it.
Dirtbag shit.
Just like, you broke indie, darling. Like, that was you.
I didn't say it was nice. I said it was honest.
Hey, Tyler Black, that was you like 3 years ago. Come on now, Tyler. T-Mart. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Rollins, good on him. Sure, why not? Why the hell not? Anyway, anything else? I'll say this: was the Finn Balor ending, the Extreme Rules 2021 ending, worse in your opinion, or just as bad, or which one was better or worse?
So here's the thing: not taking anything away from Seth Rollins or Bray Wyatt. I just didn't think that match was as good as the Finn and Roman Reigns match.
Oh, because at least the Finn and Roman Reigns match had the lights on for the first 15 minutes.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. But the aesthetics.
Please, go ahead. Yeah, please.
You dim the lights for the crowd so there's no residual lights. You put a very dark, bright red light and all we're seeing at home, especially, is a very like bright red cage.
You couldn't see
and you
shit.
had those two things. You couldn't see anything. You were disillusioned, man. Like or whatever. It was you were
Because I didn't know what was
kerfuffled.
going on for a long time. I didn't know if they were even had started the match. Honestly, if you pay attention to the commentary, you can tell. Other than that, you can't tell in a way.
I was watching that and I thought it was like another Beware a Dog thing where the lights went out and that's all they could do.
Right.
I thought the lights went out and then they're like, oh, I guess this is what the Fiend.
No, that shit sure did happen at that pay-per-view.
Yeah, man. The Beware a Dog. Beware of Vince, man. Beware of Vince and his shitty booking, please. Beware of it.
But no, I don't think Finn Balor was as bad as that. I don't.
No,
only because the match was better.
Oh, match was much better, and there was some. At least there was a little bit of like it made a little bit of sense if Finn had won. It makes no sense that he didn't. But
but
we
talked about this. I told you that we both said it made no sense. You're bringing the demon back to lose. That's stupid.
God, maybe are we wasting our time? I think I just had an epiphany. I'm like, man, I could have been reading.
I kind of feel like we are beating a dead horse.
I could have been reading a book instead of watching this pay-per-view. I could have been, bro. I could have been. That's a Boondocks thing, right? Isn't it?
Oh,
It was like when Stink Meaner and Granddad were having a fight, and then like as Granddad's about to punch Stink Meaner, it just pauses, and Huey goes, we could all be reading a book right now. That was me watching Extreme Rules. like, we could all be reading a book right now.
That was so bad.
It was so bad. But you know what's not bad? The comments, man.
Oh, yes.
Let's go through it. Hey, before we read these out, though, again, I'm going to remind you every time, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, but hit that like button to help out the algorithm. Here we go. So we got Cincy Edits says Cody is a smart man. Damn right he is. The smartest man in pro wrestling, or one of them at least right now, because he knows exactly how to play the crowd, and he's playing it beautifully right now. We'll talk about Grand Slam in just a minute. She's better than WWE gives her credit for. That is CC talking about Alexa Bliss.
Yep.
Sophia says Liv Morgan AEW. Liv and Bliss are probably the most underrated characters in WWE right now. They are two of them. I will say that. They are definitely two of them. Like, and that's no knock on them. It is literally there are just so many underrated people in WWE that are not being used.
I mentioned earlier, Rhea Ripley is a talent that they're wasting.
Since he says me and Liam should be writing for Raw, you're definitely qualified. You're more qualified than the people that are currently writing it. CC says, I think Vince is having fun with Mandy on NXT. No comment. CC says, stepped away from my phone. Okay, I'm not going to read that one. That seems like a conversation that they're having in the chat, but okay.
Exactly. That's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe Seth would have knocked some sense into Vince.
Maybe Seth would have knocked some sense into Vince. Cincy, a winner is you, my guy. A winner is you. So let's see. And finally, Cincy says, where do y'all think Doudrop is getting drafted? As far away from Eva Marie as possible.
Yes. She needs to. I love Doudrop. She's such an amazing talent.
She's great. I just wish. I think her real name is like what? Piper Nevin, right? I believe. Just drop the Doudrop name. Let her be herself. She's good. She's talented.
Yeah.
God damn it! I own people. God damn it, pal. I own people.
I don't want them to have that name.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. Let's get to. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna call this the Sean Ross Sapp like quarter hour because we're just gonna spend the next like 2 segments talking about Fightful and some of the reports from them because Sean Ross Sapp has been a busy bee. So let's talk about it. He uncovered some stuff about the WWE Fox relationship. So Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select released an in-depth report on the current state of WWE and Fox's relationship. Fightful learned from one source that WWE's viewership numbers were disappointing when compared to what Fox were expecting. However, they did note that the pandemic was kind of used as an excuse and an understandable excuse because TV across the board was kind of down. One Fox source rather stated that they were not over the moon about constantly having to promote an NBC product on and Peacock streaming platform, home to WWE's monthly pay-per-views, because Fox, of course, competes with NBC. They compete with Peacock. However, sources indicate that hasn't really been a problem due to WWE's talents receiving heavy promotion on other Fox programs in their run up to SummerSlam last month. Report notes that the returns of John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Becky Lynch over the past few months, all major stars and all going to SmackDown, have made Fox feel like WWE is going above and beyond to stack their brand. So this report, a lot of people thought when it originally came out, it was going to be like, oh my God, Fox hates WWE. And what it showed, though, I think, was it's kind of a bumpy road, this relationship between WWE and Fox. There were some lows in the beginning when the ratings were not as good. Because remember, Fox is paying over, I think it's like a 5-year deal. They're paying $1 billion for this. They are paying a lot of money for WWE to be on network TV. So they weren't happy with the ratings originally. And then, now WWE's kind of trying to mend that relationship. And WWE has a reputation amongst a lot of corporations, amongst a lot of big businesses to be very difficult and strange to deal with sometimes, but that's the reputation they have. Anyway, but Trevor, what do you kind of take away from what we learned about the relationship between WWE and Fox, and do you think Fox fully trusts WWE?
I don't think so. Not at this point. It could be something that's just to stir the pot, so to speak. But if I'm Fox, I wouldn't have full trust in WWE because the ratings are dropping. Not so much for SmackDown, but the ratings are dropping. The product isn't as good as it was. You promised them a good product, you're not giving it. You're not delivering on it. Again, the ratings are being beaten. I'd have an issue with it. I would because of all the things I said, and plus the ticket sales aren't selling well. It's just. It honestly seems like in certain instances that WWE is just dialing it in at this point. It doesn't really seem like they really care about their talent or really care about their storyline or their fans for that matter. It just really seems like they're dialing it in. Turn it up.
Sorry. I think so too. And the other question I kind of had off of that was, do you think that? So do you think that WWE or Fox might have run into some problems in the long term with WWE? Or actually not even that. What do you think the state of WWE's TV deal is going to be afterwards? Do you think they're going to get like a similar amount of money for what they're getting now from Fox? Do you think they're going to renew?
If they renew, I think it's going to be cheaper. I don't think it's going to be the same price at all. I think their price tag is going to drop a lot. Maybe not a lot, but significantly.
And what makes you say that, you think?
Okay. So one, Fox is a major primetime channel that they're competing for ratings, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the ratings of said company or said show are dropping, and I'm investing all this money, like I'm kind of losing money. You're not getting the right talent. You're not bringing the right people in. Your ticket sales are dropping. Like you're putting on pay-per-views like you just put on. Like I'm wasting money by investing this much in you, and you're not bringing a 5-star product to the table. Like if I was a businessman, I would literally look into that. Like look with a fine-tooth comb, and I might knock the price tag like a little bit. I might not pay them as much.
See, my thing is, I don't think Fox is going to be able to match what NBC is probably going to offer them. I think NBC is at a place with WWE. They got the Peacock deal. They have, the USA deal. Right. Obviously, they had that history with WWE that for decades they've been working together. And I truly believe that WWE, whenever their Fox deal is up, SmackDown's going to end up being on some USA or some NBC property, whether it's exclusively on Peacock, whether it's on NBC, like the channel, the network channel. It's I think it's more likely to see that than them re-signing with Fox at this point, or Fox re-signing them.
No.
I think Fox is at a point where if they're going to pay $1 billion for something, they probably could have gone out there and gotten hockey. They probably could have gone out there and gotten something that would have attracted more viewers on a more consistent basis. And it's not a thing where I don't think WWE SmackDown especially is doing terrible. They're not doing bad.
SmackDown's been better, yeah.
They're consistently doing well on Friday nights, but the thing is they were doing so bad for a while, and the product has been so inconsistent that sometimes there's weeks people are tuning out. Recently, it's been good because you've had the flux of stars. But what happens when you get into after the Mania season, where you get that dead time where we know WWE gets complacent, they get lazy because there's no competition with football. People are more likely to watch their product. So that's what's going to be interesting to watch here. Again, it's a prediction. Big shout out to Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select for this report, because it's something he was working on for a long time. And I think it displayed a lot of what we kind of already knew. I think some people probably overplayed it that, oh my God, Fox is going to try to get out of this deal. I don't think that was ever a real possibility. They're paying money for it. They're not going to try to get out of it.
No.
But yeah. But I mean,
also forgot to mention was the relationship NBC has with WWE as well. They've had a relationship since the 80s, late 80s, if I'm not mistaken, because they used to show
Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean that would totally make sense if they offered them a deal. That would make a lot of sense.
NBC partnered with Vince McMahon to start a football company, a football league. Bro, thicker than blood. That relationship, thicker than blood. I mean, look, the XFL is also, I'm pretty sure, the reason why the relationship, why Raw ended up going to Spike in 2011. But we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, guys, so that's the deal on Fox. If you're listening on YouTube, guys, hit that like button. Help out the algorithm as I wiggle my finger very oddly for those watching. Please help out the algorithm. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for daily videos. Hit up patreon.com/Real Take Sports for exclusive content coming up this week. I'm so excited to do that.
That was a lot.
I know. I'm trying to get the energy. Big energy as we go into our next segment. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Adam Cole, baby. Oh, so Trevor, you're going to like this. So the original plans for Adam Cole on the main roster were revealed in a report from Fightful Select. Again, great reporting from Sean Ross Sapp. In an update, Fightful Select said that in early talks and pitches to bring Adam Cole to Raw or SmackDown, one of the ideas floated to Cole himself was that he could cut his hair in order to establish a new look for himself. And they were told that Cole made it clear that he was not interested in doing that. He was not interested in cutting his hair. There was also rumors that he might have to cut his hair bald. That's what they wanted to market him as, which... Oof. That wasn't, I don't believe that was in the Fightful report, but that was also rumblings. But also on top of that, they wanted to change his name. WWE also wanted to change his name so that the audience would not confuse him with SmackDown's lead commentator, Michael Cole, who shares his last name. If they gave him a bowl cut, he could have went out there and been like, Adam Bow, baby. But yeah, Trevor, my only question to you is, after hearing that report, what the fuck?
Yeah, I can understand why you would change the man's name, because you don't want Adam Cole to be confused with Michael Cole, because they sound so much alike. Dude, I swear, WWE gets dumber and dumber every time I hear something. It's the dumbest shit possible. Like, but yeah, I mean, I heard a rumbling that they tried to get him to change his gimmick, which is part of the reason why he walked. And plus, AEW was awesome to offer him something, a chance to be back with his old buddies, old running mates, you know. So, I'm, but I believe that, especially when I heard he was released, WWE had no chance of keeping him. They had no chance with the All Elite, like pretty much scouting his ass after his contract was up, and his girlfriend like come to the dark side. Like he was not going to sign, no matter how much he tried to shave his head and make him look like an idiot. He was not going. And plus, what marketing are you doing by shaving his head or changing his name? What the hell is that?
Bro, I'm Adam Bowl, baby. I'm telling you, it's a winner. It's a winner amongst the demographic of people who have the bowl cuts. Joe Foster, big shout out to Joey. Happy birthday, by the way. Would love himself some Adam Bowl, baby.
Happy birthday, Joe.
But yeah, no. Here's what I'll say about this. My 2, 3, 7, whatever cents. Yeah, this was you don't cut the dude's hair. That's what makes Adam Cole, baby. Don't do that. And changing his name, how stupid. Okay, the only thing this proves, that this report really proves, because you can say, oh, well, maybe the haircut, okay, give him a different look, give him a different edge. All right, there's a little justification or whatever for that. I understand that to an extent. There is no justification. The only thing for a name change, the only thing I learned from this report was that WWE 100% genuinely believes that everyone who watches their product is stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
They truly believe that everyone who watches their product is an idiot moron who sits in his mom's or their mom's basement and talks about it on wrestling. And by the way, for those watching, I'm not in my mom's basement. I am in my own room. I have my own person.
Neither am I.
So let me be clear on that. But no, I mean, I truly, if they truly believe that fans are going to somehow get the name of the commentator, who's been there forever, Michael Cole, confused with Adam Cole, as if we would. There have been people who've had the same name before, and it's not been a problem. Look at AEW. You got Adam Page, Brian Cage, Nick Gage, again, all these other ages, like all these ages in AEW, man, and like, so I don't want to hear that somehow people are gonna get confused, get names confused. That doesn't happen. If you know someone who is a star, you know them. No one's gonna think that he's Michael Cole's son. All right, like no. So
is he related to Michael Cole? Stupid ass. Was he related to Michael Cole on NXT? No.
Even, and I think the reason they're probably doing is, well, goddamn it, pal. Casual fans won't know. They won't know that he's not related. I'm like, bro, casual fans will take one look at both these guys and be like, actually, no, that wouldn't even cross their mind. They'd just be like, oh, dude, this Adam Cole dude is pretty cool. No one cares. Look, all respect to Michael Cole. If you don't watch wrestling, you're not going to care about Michael Cole's name if you haven't seen it before. You're going to be caring about who you're seeing in front of you, which is Adam Cole, baby. Like, not Michael.
Why people assumed Brian Christopher was Jerry Lawler's son? Because he looked like he spit him out. He looked just like him.
He looked like a little like a 3/4 scale model of Jerry the King Lawler.
He sure
literally
did. He looked just like the man. Like it wasn't because of his name. Like, come on, like. You
Grandmaster Sexay. He's totally related to Jerry Lawler.
Too sexy, Brian Christopher. Rest in peace, my man. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But I just want to say this, get this out there, man. Go back and watch some Grandmaster Sexay moments. Jerry Lawler is amazing because like he'll be tame for like a lot of the matches. As soon as his it's either whenever Grandmaster Sexay or the Honky Tonk Man. The dude only marks out for his family. He's just like, oh look, it's Grandmaster Sexay.
Honky Tonk is his cousin or something, right?
Honky Tonk's his cousin. He'd be like, oh, it's the Honky Tonk Man. Like, just, like putting him over. It's like the only announcer who's ever put the Honky Tonk Man over. It's amazing.
Oh my god! Definitely, if you guys want to watch something, go watch some Too Sexy Brian Christopher matches. He was absolute money.
How about this? Go back and watch the 2000 the 2000 Royal Rumble. Yeah, go back and watch that. You will get the ultimate Grandmaster Sexay moment. The ultimate too cool moment. But yeah, Trevor, any final word on Adam Cole, his haircut, name change, that he's in AEW?
It was stupid. Never again.
Yeah, but somewhere backstage. Speaking of too cool, somewhere backstage, like someone asked Vince, it's like, why'd you do it? Why did you try to shave his head? I did it for the people. I did it. I did it.
I did it for The Rock.
The Rock. I did it for the people. It's like,
Come off, you don't worry, fatty. Anyway.
Well, let's go to the chat real quick. Any WWE questions, guys? Ask them right now, so we get to them like right now, because we're moving on to some other stuff in a little bit. Although you can ask WWE, you can ask whatever you guys want in the chat. I'm being, I don't know why I'm being a dick. Anyway, going to the chat. CC asks, Sophia said that about Vince. I don't know what she's referring to. Since he says Eva Marie is getting drafted to the Performance Center. No, again, I am against this. I want Eva Marie's entire gimmick to be that she can't wrestle. It is amazing heat.
By the way, my brother saw the show we did about that. He absolutely agrees with you, by the way.
Thank you. See, I am educating the masses. I am. Where's my? I should be with Damien. Silence. Damien Sandow start wearing a robe on the show. Silence. You're welcome. Amazing gimmick. Damien Sandow should have been the intellectual savior of the masses. Should have been a world champion. Anyway, going back to the chat. Let's see. Okay, not a lot. CC says, "Baby." Thumbs up, baby. Yep. Okay, cool. We saw that. Again, guys, keep the questions coming. Hit that like button. Help out the algorithm. Help more people see this video and the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Trevor, let's move on, because this past week we saw Dark Side of the Ring, right? So last week we talked about
this one.
Yeah, it's a very important one. So Dark Side of the Ring premiered an episode about the double life of Chris Kanyon. Chris Kanyon, of course, was a pro wrestler in the 90s. He ended 2000s. He went by the name Kanyon. He went by the name Mortis, which was an awesome gimmick, one of the best mask gimmicks in history. I think pretty sure DDP said that in the episode. And Kanyon was a great worker. He was in WCW for a long time. Then when WCW got bought out, he went over to WWF, had some time in the Indies as well. And he did all of this in an industry in professional wrestling that was very masculine, and at the time didn't have any openly gay wrestlers. And Kanyon was himself a homosexual who didn't really feel comfortable in that setting to be out, and he struggled with that. And this documentary chronicles that amongst his other struggles. We saw the Sinister Minister, Dr. James Mitchell.
Love him, by the way.
Our father, James Mitchell, make an appearance. Talk. He was very close. They lived together for a while. DDP was in this documentary, and it really showed the struggles he went through, his issues with bipolar disorder, and really being an outcast at the end of the day from the industry. And the Young Bucks were also there. They learned from him. Brian Cage also made an appearance in here, talking about what Kanyon meant to him. So, Trevor, what did you kind of know going into this documentary and this episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and what did you learn?
So, as you mentioned, I was a huge fan of Mortis. It was back in, those of you that don't know who Mortis was. So WCW did this thing, and they used to do gimmicks sometimes, where they did like Mortal Kombat knockoffs. They had Glacier, he was Sub-Zero, and Mortis was their version of Scorpion, pretty much. And they had an amazing feud. And Mortis was probably one of the best, if not the best, mask gimmick in WCW that I've seen in a long time. Like, it was awesome. It was a shame they took the mask off him, but it was awesome. one of the things I didn't know that Cage and the Young Bucks were around that time later in Kane's career when he, toward the end of his career. I didn't know they were, friends and didn't know they were close like that. Um, and looking back on some of his matches and things like that, just looking back on him, like, he really influenced these guys. He really influenced them to the point where they're saying his quotes. They're doing a lot of the moves that Young Bucks do are based off of Canyon. Like, and I don't know if anyone actually realizes that, but yeah, like a lot of the like top rope stuff that he does. And by the way, this man was like 4 or 5, and like and definitely a 200-pounder and flying like he was like 150. He was an amazing athlete. I didn't realize he influenced them as much as he did. Like, I know Cage always says who better. He always comes out and says who better than Cage, and that's a direct quote from Canyon. Who better than Canyon? Man, he was. There was a lot that I did learn and a lot I didn't know. I didn't know he was bipolar. I had no idea about that. That's something I didn't know. I knew he was homosexual. I knew he was gay. I didn't know that he fought it as long as he did, but I did know he was gay.
Yeah, and the other big thing that was kind of a takeaway from this for me and what I learned was, how it's again one of those things that we talked about in last week's episode of the Plane Ride from Hell. One of those things you hear and then you think about it for a second, you're just not surprised that
Right.
he struggled with this, and there was still a stigma. It was the 90s. It wasn't as accepted as it is now, and unfortunately for Canyon, he had to struggle with that, and there was a few things that we talked about, or that were talked about in the documentary. One of them was the Boy George incident in
Yeah.
SmackDown 2003 when they had him return in a box as a present for The Undertaker, and Canyon came out, sung like Boy George, and apparently some allege it was a rib on him because of his sexual orientation, and he just got battered by The Undertaker. And then he
I don't
was
even remember the purpose of that. Like, just looking back on that segment, I don't even remember the purpose of it.
It was something to do with Paul Heyman and the Undertaker, but it didn't really accomplish anything. You're right. But people saw that as a rib on him. Canyon took that as a rib on him, and he was later fired. So there's like a few things that you see he had to deal with, and it's not just that, man. Like, could you imagine being in his position in that industry in that time? Like that, like we're of course more accepting now, or the industry rather is more accepting now than it has been. But it was a totally different business then, and unfortunately it's changed. But anyway, but the other thing that I took away from this was his bouts of depression that were very eye-opening for people, I think, who watched it and what he went through. And I think, if you're dealing with anything, you can go to NAMI Communicate on Twitter. Check them out, NAMI.org. They are a great resource if you're dealing with mental health struggles. I highly encourage anyone dealing with those right now to seek help, talk to a loved one, talk to a friend. But I will say this: my biggest takeaway for sure was, and one of the, I think, because Dark Side of the Ring usually always has like one prime like storyteller, I guess,
Yeah.
through the interview segment. James Mitchell's was by far the most
Yeah.
impactful for me,
It
and the
was.
one I listened to most intently because he had the most experience directly with Canyon, and he had that relationship, and he talked about how Canyon would get angry at him, and this is his best friend in the world, his brother, and start choking him, and how Dr. James or Father James Mitchell had to eventually get a gun and to try to protect himself and pulled a gun on Canyon, and it wasn't something he wanted to do, but something he felt like he had to, and at the end of the day, he just wanted to help. He but they didn't know. That's a part of the problem. They didn't know.
I mean, sometimes when you look back on situations, you can like, oh, like he definitely was going through something. But like in the heat of the moment, you don't know, you don't understand. And I feel I feel bad for everyone involved because they all wanted to help him. They all were, even that guy whose name I can't remember, the bald-headed gentleman that lived with him. He was also a wrestler. Um, he he was talking about how like he would see it, like it was one time when he went off and like they actually set him in his room, I believe, to let him cool down. You remember the part I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like because they knew he was going through something, but they didn't know exactly. Even he mentioned in that particular statement that like he was had mental issues, he had mental health issues, and and especially back in those days in business, a lot of people didn't go see about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was this one was somber, but it was also one of those that was also kind of what's the heartwarming because of the fact that how everyone felt about it. You know what I mean?
I actually understand because I felt a similar way because and like it wasn't, I guess, heartwarming in the traditionals. It was, I think it was fun to see in the end the love that people had for Canyon,
Right.
because that's what really showed out for me. On top of all of the stories about what he went through and all that, you saw that this was a guy who was loved by his friends who and they accepted him. They accepted him for who he was. Even Brian Cage was talking about how he had his own beliefs or issues with and prejudices about gay people. And the second that he realized, oh, this is Canyon, it all went out the window because he was directly affected by it. He could relate to it now, and that's how we learn and grow, I think, as people. And so you saw the love, you saw the real love people have for Canyon, and it just makes it so much more tragic that at the end of his life in 2010, he took his own life. And that was it was the end of someone who had a very great career, I thought, like especially in WCW in the 90s, man. Canyon was always there. He was someone you look forward to seeing too. Like whenever I'm currently in 99 right now, I'm just like, Canyon is like one of those people who I'm like, dude, it's Canyon. Who better than Canyon? Like I love seeing him. I will say this too. There was one part of it that, again, I'm not saying that he caused anything or anything like that, or he's to blame for what happened. But there's one thing that I that didn't sit well with me, and that's when Cena was on the Howard Stern show. John Cena was on the Howard Stern show. They showed this.
Talk about that.
And he talked about how Canyon wasn't fired because he was gay. Again, that's up in the air. Like that's speculation. Okay, we'll table that. But then he went on and said Canyon was never that good, and Canyon wasn't a good wrestler. He wasn't a good worker. And I thought that was so disingenuous because it's just not true.
I thought that was such a cheap shot,
Even when he was in WWE, he was good. Like, you can't say he wasn't a good worker. That's like you can say you can't cut a promo. Okay. You can say, does he have charisma? Okay, you know what? No. But can he work? Oh, he can work. That's a non-issue.
I mean, to be honest, his charisma and his on the mic were probably the weakest part of Canyon. But like even with the mic work, like that, and people can say what they want. That lisp is what really took him over. Honestly, I thought that lisp and that heavy New York accent really is what really made Canyon. Because
heavy New York accent,
dude, it's so heavy.
I'm gonna get you.
Because he was from Rochester, right?
You should have won. Like, heavy New York accent.
He was like, he sounded like he sounded more like a New Yorker than Brooklyn Brawler did, and his name was Brooklyn Brawler. Like but his, like you said, his mat work was impeccable. Come on, why would anyone wrestle like him if he couldn't work? Like, why would people who are wrestling
He got people over.
Dude, I don't want people who wrestle now use his moves. Like, he got so many
The Young Bucks, literally two of the best performers in the history of professional wrestling.
He had one of his worst matches against Orlando Jordan and got Orlando Jordan over clean.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what it is. That's not the whole point of this, but I thought that was disingenuous. I thought it was kind of shitty too, honestly. But that's just my opinion, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But
But last thing I'll ask you about this, if there's like maybe just one big lesson that we learned from watching this, or one thing we like, big lesson, big takeaway from this.
always be you. Always be who you are, no matter the outcome, no matter what where you are in life. Always be you, because the fact of the matter is, even if you're high on top and being you may affect that, if you can't be you where you are, you don't need to be there.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Always be you, and know that your friends, if they're really your friends, will be there for you.
Always.
And yeah, absolutely. Who better than Canyon?
Who better? Oh, I used to say that when I was in school all the time and got in so much trouble.
Who better than Canyon? But yeah, can't wait. Glad they did this. Can't wait to see next week's episode on FMW. On FMW. Oh, I'm starting to like. I'm starting to just.
That's gonna be a good one. I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah. Who better than you? If you don't hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever new videos are released. Guys, hit the like button. Help out the algorithm. Subscribe. Like I said, I've been saying like a maniac. We got a lot of stuff in the chat here. A lot of Tyler. We got stuff about Tyler Rex. Sophia says they should do a Tyler Rex Dark Side of the Ring story about him. Her being transgender. So for those who don't know, Tyler Rex, a former WWE superstar for a while. She actually came out as a transgender, as a trans woman, and
that was a few months back, right?
Yeah. It was fairly recently, from what I can remember. She changed her name to Gabby something.
Gabby Cuff, isn't it? I think it's her.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat right here. Yeah, Gabby Cuff. And Sophia and Cece have been going back and forth in the chat about that, and that's great. I would love to see her story documented in some way, and that would be. I think that would be really cool.
That'd be great.
Sophia says Tyler Rex was similar to Chris Canyon, but thankfully Rex didn't give up. She found a way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that 100%.
I mean, people like Nyla Rose wouldn't be here if it wasn't for guys like Canyon and Rex, Tyler Rex. Because for those that don't know, Nyla Rose is transgender, and she's been pretty open about that.
Yeah, and absolutely, and it just goes to show you, man, like how just accepting people for who they are in the industry, especially like for something as something that matters so little as far as changing your opinion of a person. Like their orientation or what they identify as. These are things that don't matter. Like you are, as long as you are a good person, you intend on doing good to others, nothing should matter. And there's some terrible people out there who want to make that a big deal and make those things define you in a bad way and make those things taboo. Absolutely, and I can't stand that. Again, that's why whenever Undertaker came out and said, "Oh, well, back when men were men, back when the wrestling industry was better." No, the wrestling industry, the wrestling locker room, the boys, the quote unquote boys, are much better today than they've ever been. I'd rather have them playing video games with each other, talking about like basketball, whatever, than going back and back to the bar and drinking themselves to oblivion.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I'm glad Trevor brought up Nyla Rose, says Sophia in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. Great. By the way, Nyla Rose, they're coming out with we should actually talk about this. We'll talk about this in a little bit because they're coming out with a TBS title. Yeah. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Anyway, let's move on quickly and talk about AEW Grand Slam, Trevor. Big dream match, bro. Big dream match. I'm so... Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man.
Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. The dream match for the ages was at AEW Grand Slam. Got 5 stars from Dave Meltzer. Went to a time limit draw. This was Bryan Danielson's best match since he went over to WWE. Jim Cornette, who has hated everything to do with AEW for the past 2.5 years. Even Jim Cornette, who watched this match, even he praised this as the best match in AEW history, said that Kenny Omega, who Cornette has been very critical of, stayed up with Bryan and is great. He couldn't deny the greatness of this moment. This is a match that I believe, and I think everyone else believed, lived up to the hype and honestly exceeded the expectations that were set for it because they were really high. Trevor, what did you think of this match? And what do you think of Jim Cornette's comments saying how great this was?
I'm surprised Jim Cornette didn't like explode after saying that, because like he can't say anything nice about AEW. He hates AEW, and like I'm sure it hurt him to his soul to say that. But no, he's absolutely right though. Like I thought both wrestlers did an amazing job. I thought Bryan shined a little brighter, but Kenny kept up with him. You know what I mean? Like it was an amazing match. It proved these are two of the best wrestlers right now, and that's saying a lot with Bryan Danielson haven't wrestled in a while. Like it was a very, very entertaining, even though there wasn't a winner. I thought that was the best case scenario personally. I thought it set up something more later on down the line. It was a very good match. Both athletes should be very proud of themselves.
Yeah, I remember watching this match and just being absolutely pissed when they went to commercial. I was so.
Dude, they could have had no commercial break on this.
Look, I understand they had to, and look, yeah. I'm fine with it, whatever. But man, oh man, was I pissed when that commercial break came on, because I watched that first 15-20 minute sequence they had, and Trevor, I was watching this and just being like, this is exactly what I expected from these two. Like that, because usually when there's a dream match, there's a certain level of disappointment. Like, oh well, it was really good, but it was not as great as you could. This was built up to be the match of the century, and it felt like it. The moment felt like it. The crowd was into it. Bryan, we saw the Bryan that we knew existed in WWE, but could never do the things he wanted to do. He kicked Omega's head in. He was rough. He was selling. The V-triggers Omega was giving to this guy. Marked out, Trevor, I'm not lying to you. This was my favorite match of all time. It's not the best match of all time or whatever. I understand
your favorite match, yeah.
But this is my favorite match because I've never been so excited. You know how much I love Daniel Bryan. You know how much I love Kenny Omega. I've never been so excited for a match. I've never been so happy in the beginning. And I hate the spot where wrestlers just pause for 3 minutes and just look at the crowd, but I loved it. I was eating it up. I loved it. And I loved how Bryan just kicked it into it. They kept upping the ante. They kicked it into another gear. And just when you think they're in their full gear, pardon the pun, they kicked it into another gear. It showed exactly why these two are the best in the world right now. It was glorious to watch. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50 stars. I don't care. It was great. No one can deny that. And
one of the best spots of the match to me, in my opinion, one of my favorite spots was when Kenny went for the One-Wing Angel and Daniel hit him with a Frankensteiner, a reverse Frankensteiner right on his freaking head. It was such a stiff match. I expected it to be stiff. God damn.
Dude, and dude, best thing about it, you know how pale Bryan is? Those chops were
it looked like he was bleeding. He did. Those capillaries came right to the surface.
Oh my god, it was amazing. And the thing is, JR was on point, Excalibur was on point. The commentary was great during this match.
It was great. It was absolutely great.
This was AEW
this was a
at
great
its
show
best.
top to bottom. Great match top to bottom, and the show was good too. But this match was great top to bottom. Commentary, storytelling wise, action. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Now the other question is, Trevor, because there's a lot of people who want to see this kind of continue. Do you go back to this match at Full Gear, or do you hold off on the rematch for a little while?
You know, you could definitely do it at Full Gear, but if I was Tony Khan, I'd wait on it. I'd definitely wait on it, only because this is one of those things that you don't want to wear out. This is magic in the ring. This is something you do not want to wear out. It's kind of like, in my opinion, if they did it like this, it would be just like Sami Zayn and Chris and Kevin Owens.
Mm.
The Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens first time in the ring together is great. You should keep it just like that. You should not keep putting them in the ring and ruining what they create in that ring. And they create magic. They have great chemistry in the ring. Their matches are always money, but you shouldn't keep doing it. I think we had the 35th one earlier this year. But with this is something that you should have once in a while. Absolutely. If you don't have it twice a year, that's fine. You have it just once a year, that's great. But this is something that you shouldn't run into the ground.
I think that this is they should stop here for now, hold off on it, because the main reason why is I think you wait till Omega gets the title off of him. Because look, I'm also not in favor of directly putting the title on Bryan right now, because I think he has to work his way up, and that's kind of.
I don't even think he needs the belt right now.
Yeah, but eventually that's what he's going to go for. But I think you hold off on it until Omega gets the belt off of him, and I think you even give it a few months. I don't want to see these two touch again until the build up for Double or Nothing, because this is a main event match without the belt. The belt, honestly, in this scenario, is almost like a crutch, because it puts that it puts that doubt on whether Bryan can actually win. Are they going to take the belt off Omega? Probably not. So, and especially with Adam Page looking like he's probably returning pretty soon, I think you finish that story out, and then you build up to the rematch of Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, literally. And it could be the best match of all time. Imagine an Iron Man match between these two.
Oh, man.
Oh my God. They go 60 minutes, 60-minute draw, and then go to overtime. That's what I want from this match. That's what I want from this.
I got a question for you. You had a couple earlier from me. I got a question for you. Other than Omega, this is a very vast question. Who would you like to see Danielson wrestle besides Omega?
Well, I mean, the number one person I want to see him wrestle, and this, again, you hold off on this, I think, for an entire year. Number one is CM Punk. I want to see CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson.
Love to see them. Yeah, I would love to see them definitely again.
In a proper way, because what we saw in WWE was great at Over the Limit 2012, but not in the main event. But that is a main event match. CM Punk once said something that was that I thought was very true. Punk and Bryan are like Brett and Shawn. They should be far apart as possible, and then when you need a big money feud to build up to a pay-per-view, that's it right there. Punk and Bryan, they're going to be magic every time. So he's number one on my list. Hold off on that. As far as immediate opponents, I want to see Adam Cole. I think build up to Adam Cole, and I think that makes more sense too, because they're probably going to do Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy versus the Young Bucks, and then Adam Cole versus Bryan Danielson makes more sense. Okay. And and other than that, I want to see him wrestle Jungle Boy. I want to see him wrestle MJF. That feud.
That was one I was thinking. Him and MJF would be a great feud. Also, I think him and Sammy Guevara would be a good one too.
I want him versus Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix to me is the most fun to watch performer in the world right now, and I want to see him.
He's a stiff worker too.
Stiff son of a bitch. Penta too. Pac.
Yeah. It's the
New Japan. Okada. Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes.
Forbidden.
I forgot about Zack Sabre.
Zack Sabre Jr. hinted at it. He hinted at Bryan. He hinted at Bryan in a promo he cut at a New Japan show. So, my guy, the possibilities are endless, and they're all amazing. That's the best part about AEW.
That's a great thing, man. It's awesome.
Amazing. So yeah, we're gonna run through our last few topics. Sorry, we're going a little longer, Trevor, than I anticipated, but
I'm having so much fun. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm having fun on a Tuesday night, tomorrow. Anyway, let's continue this AEW Love Fest. By the way, if you haven't already, please hit that like button, guys. Help out the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos, and ask your questions in the chat as we keep going. I will answer those. We'll answer. If I can't speak today, we will answer the last round of questions right at the end. So all your comments, all your questions, put them in the chat. We'll talk about them at the very end. So Trevor, AEW is going to have their debut in Rochester. So the Rochester debut of AEW is coming up on Wednesday, and there's a lot of people who are clamoring to see something happen with the Dark Order. Of course, this is Brody Lee's hometown. Brody Lee was once the leader of the Dark Order, and they've kind of been in a weird spot recently where after Hangman Page left, after he got injured, he's in real life he's actually tending to his child. They just had a child, but he's off TV. And the Dark Order have been feuding a little bit. There's been the storyline running of who's going to bring them back together. People thought it was going to be Anna Jay. It doesn't look like Anna Jay is going to be the one, but it looks like this Rochester show is what they've been building it up to, as finally something's going to happen. Something's got to give with the Dark Order, because it's been getting more and more intense as weeks go by. A lot of people are speculating that potentially we could see Bray Wyatt make his AEW debut.
He's still on that day, right?
Note on that. So if he has a 90-day, which no one has been told that he doesn't have a 90-day, then he can't show up to this show legally. There's a possibility that he might have he might have waived because apparently he gets paid for the 90 days, so he might have waived the 90-day. And if that's the case, then he can show up legally, but we don't know.
We really don't know.
We don't know, and that's the big thing. It looks like I'm gonna trust a lot of people, like the big reporters like Sean Ross Sapp and the like, who said they haven't heard anything. There's really no indication. So, what do you think about the potential for Bray Wyatt showing up on Wednesday?
It could be something big happening. It doesn't necessarily have to be Bray, but it would be awesome to have Bray there in the hometown with his best friend. You know, it would be awesome. How much of a pop would it be to see -1 there, you know, in his dad's hometown, and he'd be the voice of reason why they get back together? You know what I mean? Like, it's a bunch of things that they could do. I think it's time to bring the culmination together, like both in the culminate though. But yeah, but at this point, I honestly think it's up in the air. It's completely up in the air.
Yeah, I'm not expecting him to show up. If he does, cool. It's great. I'm gonna love Wyndham to show up. But again, I'm not expecting him. I feel like we would have found out, or there would have been something reported if he had waived that 90-day no compete. But again, he's been teasing stuff on Twitter. We don't know, man. He's a very secretive guy.
I also feel like it would be closer to Halloween too, though.
Maybe. Well, it's close enough to October. AEW's also got like a weird schedule leading up to Halloween. Like, they are going to be on Saturday nights, Friday nights. They're all over the place for the next month. But here's what I'll say. The more likely scenario, and I think you'll probably agree with me, is that we see the return of Adam Page. I think that's the more likely scenario, and he's the one to bring this group together, because he's also the one that kind of led to their downfall or them splitting up. Yeah, so he's honestly the most likely person to bring the Dark Order together. What do you think?
I think so. But would you just do it as him as Adam Cole, or Adam Page, and repackage him? Would he be Hangman Adam Page, or would you repackage?
Oh, he's coming back as Hangman. He's not getting repackaged.
I would do Hangman, but I'm just saying, you know, if he does come back.
This is not no.
Oh, yes,
not WWE. It's no repackaging.
I'm sorry.
No one needs a repackaging. He's coming. He is the Hangman cowboy shit.
I'm used to years and years of abuse. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. But yeah, it has to be. it has to be Paige, right? It just makes the story makes too much sense, and then he brings them together, and he finally battles his depression, his anxiety that he's been facing in this story. This story, by the way, I forgot who it was. I'll send it out, and I'll retweet it or something. There was a YouTube video that chronicled everything about the Adam Page storyline, and it is so meticulous and so built up. It is amazing. And once you watch it, you'll just be entrenched into it. But it has to be Adam Page. There is the scenario where Bray Wyatt would or Wyndham Wyatt, whatever, Wyndham Rotunda is what his name is, would come back or would debut. But I don't see that fitting into the story, and usually 9 out of 10 times AEW doesn't do things that aren't fitting into their narrative or their story that they're telling. You know, the CM Punk Bryan Danielson thing was the exception because those two things happened very quickly and came out of nowhere, and they had to sign those two. So that's the exception. I don't think Tony Khan's in the business right now of making any more exceptions.
No, not now, unless it makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Anything else on this?
No.
JoinTheDarkOrder.com. Let's go to our final takes. Actually, I want to quickly ask you about this. So, Trevor, sure. AEW just announced recently that they are that they are creating a new title. The TBS title is going to be debuting at some point over the next 6 months, I believe. That they just announced that. It's a TBS title, and it's going to act as another women's singles title. So a lot of people speculate it might have been a tag team title. No, it's a women's.
Talking about a trios title.
That's also in the works, but they haven't officially announced that. But they're going to do that eventually. I think they're waiting a little bit on that. They don't want to announce too many titles so close together. But a TBS title to kind of act like a secondary, but not a secondary. I think it's a little bit of that TNT title effect because the TNT title isn't necessarily a mid-carder title. It's not. It's actually it's an alternative title, if that makes sense.
And I think it makes perfect sense because like you have so much talent, you have to give somebody a belt. You know what I mean? Like Miro deserves a belt. He definitely deserves a belt. But so does Kenny Omega. So, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, the good thing about AEW is the title, like the United States title is a little bit of a crutch at this point. But the TNT title, like that's a title you can make your own, and by defending it weekly, you can build it into a big thing. And I think if we're talking about the TBS title, we're talking about the women's division, I think this title is made, built, and created for Jade Cargill. It has to be. Because how do you get her? Because you want to keep the title on Britt Baker. She's the move. You want to build towards that Thunder Rosa Baker match. Great. Put this belt on Jade Cargill and let her just run a rough shot through this division and just defend that title in squash matches every single week so that when someone eventually beats her, oh my God, that person is going to be over the moon. But that's what I would do.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense, dude. Like do that and sell the shit out of it. Like just have her do what Miro's doing right now. You know what I mean? Just run roughshod over the whole and then build it up for her and like Nyla Rose. You know what I mean? Like build a big feud with her and Nyla Rose. Or hell, even what's her name? We were just talking about her. Anyway, but yeah, have a big feud build up. You can do so much with it. There's so much you can do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to see a lot of people, and you could. And the reason I like it better than a tag team belt thing, because we've kind of seen how that's played out in WWE. Not that it couldn't work, and I think it will work in AEW eventually. But I think they don't have the tag team structure really built up in the women's division right now to immediately go into that naturally. I think it's better to do a TBS title because it gives you another reason to have women on the show. It's going to help out with the fact that AEW, for whatever reason, man, has not been booking this women's division to anyone's liking or to the extent that they should be. But I think, look, I'm excited to see this TBS title. I think it fits more into what their roster looks like now. Eventually, when you have more alliances, when you have more, like a more natural feel for a tag team division within the women's division, we'll get those belts, I think.
Right.
But the TBS title is a great idea. Put it on Cargill. Put it on Cargill. Have her destroy people for 6 months, and then have someone like Ruby Soho or maybe someone else like Chris Statlander or someone who the fans really love, who's an AEW original, by the way. Have her beat her, and that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do with it. I think it's a good idea to have one. Definitely. Absolutely. So let's go to the chat real quick, where Sophia is blowing it up in the chat here. So here we go. Sophia says, I want Ricochet versus Omega. I would like Ricochet versus Omega. I think everyone. You know what I want? I want Ricochet versus Omega. I want Ricochet versus Rey Fénix. That's what I want. Yeah, that would actually
say that. Give me Ricochet versus Rey Fénix. And then she follows that up. She follows that up literally with Ricochet versus Rey Fénix. I did not read that comment beforehand, but that's what came in my mind. Maybe that's why it came into my mind. Maybe I residually saw that. Penta versus Bryan Danielson, yes. Andrade versus Bryan Danielson, yes. Wyndham Wyatt, she says in the chat.
I love Sophie. She's awesome.
Wyndham Wyatt.
That's
sorry,
a good
go ahead.
one. Big Swole.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, for Cargo to wrestle.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Big Swole would be good. But this is no, I don't care. I'm a mark for her and Smart Mark Sterling. Like that. They need that. She needs to have the belt.
Definitely does. Yes, she does.
But so she said. Okay, Sophie goes on to say Wyndham is like Stephen King with professional wrestling characters. Yeah. I think Wyndham's name will be more chanted instead of Paige. No.
Not yet.
No, Paige. No, I don't. And if he is, shame on the fans. Shame on the fans. You marks. They got you again.
Not saying that we don't like Bray Wyatt, because I
love Bray Wyatt. I love Bray Wyatt.
I just think it makes more sense for
it's Paige. No, it has to be Paige. I think you can do the thing with the Dark Order. You could turn the Dark Order heel and have Wyatt like debut eventually as his first big opponent after he wins the title. Boom. Tony Khan.
Just book one. Hey, Tony, come on, pay him a little bit.
Give me that dinero, buddy. Mas dinero from Tony Khan. Jamie Hayter is good too. Oh, Jamie Hayter, she says, is very good. Yep. Big Swole versus Jamie Hayter versus Nyla Rose. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Look, we got a little booker over here.
Got a little booker. I don't know. Yeah, you could be part of our booking committee with Cincy Edits and old Liam from Scotland, by the way. Big shout out to Liam and Cincy, who returned for my Extreme Rules stream yesterday or the other day.
Quick shout out. Congratulations to Ronda Rousey and Travis Brown for welcoming their first child together. Saw that today. New life is always cool.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I zoned out for a bit. Congratulations to Ronda Rousey and Travis. Sophie, and our last comment. Sophie in the chat says, I don't know, Omer. Wyndham is pretty big and the highest free agent right now. Adam Page is Mr. AEW.
Yeah, he is. He is going to get. She's not wrong with.
You're not wrong.
You're
not wrong.
Not at all. But
you're not wrong. I love Bray Wyatt. But this is Adam Page. This is Adam Page. This is Adam Page. He is. People are clamoring. We wanted to see this 2 weeks ago at All Out. He's got to win. Anyway,
the pop he gets is just absolutely insane.
Absolutely. Sophia just said in the chat, Omer needs to talk with Tony Khan. we're trading emails. You know, me and TK. TK is sliding in my DMs every now and then. You know, the paychecks got to come somehow, right? Because we're paid by AEW. Someone actually said that in the comments of one of our videos.
That's funny.
So like a while ago, they were like, "It's like, oh, Tony Khan probably bought and paid you too." I'm like, "Yo, I wish Tony Khan bought me. I wish.
I probably wouldn't be doing this.
I'd be doing this, but I'd be doing this, but I'd be. Oh, wait, you wouldn't. Neither of us would be. I'm still doing this for free. Damn it. And if you want to see me do this for free more, check out Real Take Sports Talk tomorrow night, where it's going to be me and hopefully someone else, although no one wants to seem to join me talk about sports, but it's going to be me talking about sports, talking about the NFL, talking about the news from the NBA, Kyrie Irving not wanting to get the shot, Bradley Beal not wanting to get the shot, LeBron James getting the shot, a lot of stuff about the shot. We're not going to get into that here, but Trevor, any final takes, final things in wrestling you want to talk about?
No, I think we have done everything today, I think. Yeah. I think today was a good show. Welcome Sophia to the comment section. Hopefully she likes, subscribes, and joins us. Other than that,
you almost had it. Joins us every Tuesday night live here on YouTube at 8 p.m. Sophia, come back every single Tuesday for more fun like this.
Everyone else, please come back.
And everyone else, one last time, just for the meme, hit that like button, subscribe, and ding, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button so you know every single Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, whenever this comes out, you get this great audio listening on the way to work on Wednesday morning. I don't know, but do that. Leave us a 5-star review, guys. We will see you guys next time. Real Take Wrestle Talk. Later.
Who better?
Not you.
No.